everyone, welcome to Busy Garden Life. It is time to make our apple cider vinegar. I have been doing all of the apple things. We did the applesauce, apple butter, apple pie filling, and our freeze-dried cinnamon sugar apples. And in each video, I have told you and recommended to keep your cores in your peels if you have them, so that we can make apple cider vinegar. Now, apple cider vinegar is one of those things that I love to make because, one, it saves you a ton of money at the store from having to buy it all the time. And two, I use it so much that it's nice to have those savings. And it's super easy to do. As long as you're doing some of the preserving of the apples, there's no reason not to save the cores and the peels and to be able to make your own. All right, it's pretty much 3 simple ingredients: your peels and cores, water, and sugar. That's it. So to get started, I have 4 cups of sugar. Now what you're gonna need is 1 tablespoon of sugar or 4 cups of water, I'm sorry. 1 tablespoon of sugar for 1 cup of water. So since I have this handy dandy little measuring thing at 4 cups, I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons of water, or sugar. Oh my goodness, I can't keep anything straight right now. All right, and we're just gonna mix it in, kind of mix it together here, kind of get that sugar to dissolve a little bit. Now I'm using half-gallon jars. You could use quart jars. I don't typically recommend going any less than that because you really can't get a good enough amount with just the pints. So, all right, so once you have your jars, what you're gonna do is you're just going to fill the jars about halfway. I usually go a little bit more than halfway. In all honesty, I like a little bit more in there. Get some cores. Now, if you wanted to, over time, if you're not preserving apples right now, you could save the cores and put them into the freezer until you're ready and you have enough to make a big batch, or just save them as you're doing some of your preserving. All right. Now these apples here are from the apple pie filling that I just made. And so, which was 6 quarts of apples. And you can see it's gonna make a lot of apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna have to go get more jars actually. But I figured I could at least show you with just these few simple. Okay. All right, so kind of fill them. I like a mixture of the cores and the peels. Cores have, you know, the natural sugars from the apples that actually help with the fermentation process as well. So I like to put a little bit of both in there. Okay, that looks good there. All right, so now all you're gonna do is take your sugar water mixture and pour it over top. And I'm going to fill the jar up completely. So if I need more water, then I am definitely going to get more water. And actually, there's a lot of sugar on the bottom. I didn't dissolve it very good. I'll have to do better the next time around. But you want to make sure you get all of that sugar in there. That sugar is what helps the fermentation process. And since we did that, I want to just mix it up there a little bit more. All right, so now I'm going to get 4 more cups of water and 4 more tablespoons of sugar, and I'm going to keep going until all of my jars are full. All right, so as I'm finishing the last jar, I wanted to talk a little bit about what you can do with all this apple cider vinegar. I actually have 7 half gallons already going from when I made the applesauce and apple butter. I took those cores and peels and I made 7 of them. So I know it seems like a lot, but I like to make fire cider. So I have already made some of that, and with that, I typically use, let me see, I probably used 4 quarts of apple cider vinegar for just that. Now I would actually like to make more fire cider to start handing out to people because it's so great for your immune system during the winter months. I would like to make even more. So that's why I want to make a ton of apple cider vinegar. I'm going to let it ferment for a long time. If you let it ferment for 2 to 4 months, it increases the acidity of it. So the longer you let it ferment, the more acidic it gets. You want it to be at least 5%. So I have little like pH testers to kind of test them as I'm going, just to make sure that I get that acidity level that I want. All right, there's maybe 2 more cups, less than that probably. But apple cider vinegar is great for cooking. If you don't want to make fire cider, apple cider vinegar is just great for your immune system in general. Without the fire cider, before I did the fire cider, I used to just do a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar with some honey and some hot water every day. My husband and kids thought I was crazy, but I tell you what, I get sick much less than everybody else. And and when they get sick, I always say, let's try Mama's concoction, and typically you can bounce back a lot quicker. So I'll double up on how much they take, maybe 2 cups a day, or increasing it, and it helps to fight the cold and flu viruses. So it's got great health benefits, great for cooking. We have a ton of fruit flies right now. I don't know, it's November and the fruit flies are still crazy. I don't know if it's been a wonderful, beautiful fall. So maybe because it's still warm enough that they're sticking around. But either way, you could take the apple cider vinegar, put it in a little dish with some soap, and catch all the fruit flies. I've done that as well. But overall, this stuff is just great. And the amount that I go through on a yearly basis is so much that doing it on my own saves me from buying it. So I highly recommend it if you have those cores and peels. All right, so now that we have them all filled, what we're going to do is I'm going to cover it with a coffee filter, and then I'm just going to put a rubber band or hair tie around it, and I'm going to put it in a cool, dark place, and we're just going to let it ferment. Now, some people like to stir it every week, and you could absolutely do that. Honestly, I don't have the time to even think about it or remember, so I might do it like once a month, even if that, but at least everything's kind of just fermenting and going. So if you wanted to put it in a spot where you can remember to stir it, go ahead. I kind of just have it tucked back into a corner in order to make sure that it just ferments on its own. All right, so let's go ahead and cover these and get them off to the side. All right, I'm just gonna wipe off the rims here. Quick little dry. Okay, and then I just cover them. And then with this, I also like to put a kitchen towel over top of it. Some people use napkins and will secure napkins on them, but I kind of just tuck them away so you can't even see them, so I'm not gonna use my nice woven napkins for that. So there you have it, apple cider vinegar. So we are gonna let this ferment for 2 to 4 months. After that, you'll just strain it out. You can use cheesecloth, or cheesecloth gets, most of the smaller particles. I typically just use a strainer. Sometimes I'll get another coffee filter out and kind of strain it through that. But I'm okay with a little bit of the particles left in it. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. If you keep it in the refrigerator, it'll stop that fermentation process, once it's done. After you strain it, if you don't want to put it in the refrigerator, store it in the refrigerator, I have so much of it that I definitely do not do that. But I will strain it out, and then I will go ahead and I will just seal the jar nice and tight so that you don't really have any more of that oxygen getting in there, and store it in a cool, tight place. You don't necessarily have to process it or anything like that. You can just kind of store it away as long as it's sealed pretty tight. And that is it. So if you have any questions about it, drop them in the comments and I'll try my best to answer, based on my experience with this. And the next bonus thing that I'm going to show you is apple juice. So as I was doing the apple sauce and apple butter, and we kind of roasted those apples down, and we had all that juice that I said, save this juice because we're gonna do something with it. It's so easy. I'm gonna get the jars out of the refrigerator. I've just kind of been keeping them there. We're gonna strain it and get ready to drink it. So let's go get them out of the refrigerator. All right, real quickly, before we do the apple juice, I did want to show you, this is a jar that I've been fermenting for about 2 weeks now. I only used cores because that's all I had when I did the applesauce and apple butter. I didn't peel anything. But you can see it's kind of starting getting cloudy, and the smell, the smell. I'm gonna kind of push this down a little bit, but you also get, it's called the mother. It's like a SCOBY, an apple, if you do kombucha. I'm not gonna be able to get it out. Let me see if you can see that little white liquid kind of there on the edge. It's basically, when you're fermenting the apple cider vinegar, you're gonna get yourself that SCOBY, or the mother, they call it, which is super healthy and has all the health benefits in it. You could always save that if you wanted to, in order to make some. So if I wanted to put the SCOBY after it's done into another batch of apple cider with some apples, it does help the fermentation process go quicker. But that's what you're looking for. If you're getting that on top, that's great. You want that. It's part of the process, but this is kind of a couple weeks in, and you can definitely start smelling the acidity of the apple cider vinegar. But I'm gonna let this go for probably another month or two, just depending on how acidic I can get it. Okay, so I have 3.5 quarts of juice and pulp here. And I do it pretty simple. I don't can it. I mean, I don't typically have enough to can it. I guess I could if I ended up with enough, but I don't have enough. So I just make it super easy. I strain out all of the big chunks. And I put it into a pitcher, and we're gonna put it right into the refrigerator for the kids to drink. Now, you could use a cheesecloth if you really don't want any of the pulp or anything getting into that. I don't mind. The kids don't seem to mind. So I'm just making it super simple. I'm draining it, and the kids are going to drink it. It's typically just like a one-time thing for us here because I don't have enough of the juice, but it's really as easy as that. If you wanted to can it, you would have to warm it up, get it nice and bring it to a simmer for a couple, about 5 to 10 minutes. Get your jars warm, your water bath canner. And then I honestly, I've never canned it, so I don't know if you could use, I'm assuming you could just use the water bath canner, and can it or I don't know if you have to add anything or pressure can it. So that would be something that I would have to research, but I typically just like it right into the pitcher here, and that's it. We're done with that. So I wanted to share with you, since this is the last video, this is our 5th series of the apple pie, and I spent $55 on apples. I bought 2 $20 bushels and 1 $15 half bushel. So I spent $15, actually, and then I had the $8 from the deer apples. So I did have quite a bit. So that ends up being $63. Spent $63 on apples. Hopefully next year our orchard, or in the next couple of years, our orchard will be big enough that I don't have to buy the apples, but I spent $63 and I made 12 half pints of apple butter. I did, oh my goodness, I don't even know how many quarts of applesauce. I should have counted them, at least 20. I probably made about 20 quarts of applesauce. So at the store, if you think of a quart of applesauce being $3 to $4, depending on where you buy it or what kind you buy it, especially if it's nice and organic, that's $40 right there in just applesauce. I got the apple butter, I did the 6 quarts of apple pie filling, and then we did all of those cinnamon sugar freeze-dried apples. So freeze-dried apples themselves can be, I don't know, $7, $8 for a little bag of them. So when it's all said and done, and then on top of that, we have a nice jug of apple juice that my kids can drink the next couple days. And I have made so much apple cider vinegar, or I have it fermenting right now, and a 3-pack of that at Costco is $10. So I typically buy probably 3 of those throughout the year, a little bit more during canning season. So probably 4 or 5 of them I would say I do throughout the year. So that's $50 right there, let's say. So when it's all said and done, I spent half of what I would have, if not even less, or probably less than half, right? So maybe a quarter of what I would have if you add in the dehydrated or freeze-dried apples and stuff. Maybe a quarter of what I would have on all of the products that we made by buying some fresh apples. So it really, if you can find the time to do it, it really is cost effective. And I didn't waste any of the apples. I used the apples, I used the cores, the peels, the juice. There's just so much that you can do with apples, and then they're so healthy for you, and the kids love them. So there you have it. That is the end of our apples series. I hope you enjoyed it. We really only had the one flop of the apple pie filling that didn't turn out great. It wasn't thick enough. I did something incorrect there, but next year I'll try it again and hopefully make a better video for you then. But check it out, because you know that stuff happens probably to everybody, happens to the best of us as we are canning and preserving things. Can't go perfect every time. So if you have any comments, questions, please drop them into the comment section so that I can answer. And then make sure that you like and subscribe the page. That way you can get all of the notifications and kind of keep up with everything that we're doing on the homestead. All right, we will see you soon.